If there was one thing I was trying to prove this weekend, is that I'm not a scam. Hey everybody, it's Espira, and we're back with some more Battle of Spirits Saga content. Today, specifically jumping over my review and performance over in the Vegas launch event. It was an extremely exciting event. It was so much fun getting to meet everybody, see what everyone was doing, and in the end, we managed to get a top 32, which is super exciting and does honestly make me feel better. You know, I've been making content for the game for just shy of about 2 months, and I know I tend to speak in a way like I really know what I'm talking about, which I like to think I do. I give a very keen eye towards the way things are designed and reference from other games and my past experience competitively, but you know, nothing's proven until it's proven. So the fact that we were able to score top 32 at this 400-ish man event definitely makes me feel good about at least understanding what's going on and being able to even improve and share those improvements with all of you. So with that said, we're going to look over the deck that I took. We're going to look over what I ended up playing against and what my results were. And then after that, just give our last resolving thoughts about the tournament, the game, where it's headed and stuff like that. So kicking it off, we have the deck list. And like I've been saying it since day one, guys, I was going to take Red Nova. Why did I take this deck? Two things. One, I feel like Red can deal with everything on some level. There's the fact that you have the best removal. You are the color that removes Nexuses. You can clear medium-ish size boards, and then you have the best combo in the game in Nova, where your opponent has to kill you twice, and you get to board wipe them over and over again. With that idea in mind, I took Terra Nova very specifically. Originally, I was on just a regular Nova build, but seeing how white was definitely going to be represented in this tournament, and I wanted a more real low end to kind of apply quick pressure, I figured that the Terra build would be the better route to go, and I'm extremely happy that I did end up taking this build. Terra's honestly, Terrasaurs in general, generally carried a lot of my matchups. And there were some matchups where I actually would not have won if it wasn't for Gigano Rex. To a point where I'm actually really sad about my sideboard. My sideboard situation was terrible, but we'll talk about that when we get there. In terms of actually looking over the deck itself, Nova was great. The Nova combo was great. For a while I was on 3 Supernovas because I was like, you don't want to see it too much. Turns out it's fine. You just pitch them eventually with your Volcanics or whatever. You do want to be able to see your combo. So the 4 Novas, the 4 Sigworms. Sigworm's a terrible card, but we run it because it's a Sigworm. And the 3 Big Bangs are definitely where I want to be. We maximize on draws. Starblessed is a broken card. It's the whole reason you can like clean sweep purple half the time is because no matter what they do, you're going to get a draw 4 out of it. Then we do get the 4-card draw. In terms of the techier side of the deck, the 2 Netherworld Depths, I thought I was going to see a lot of white, and there was a lot of white, so I'm glad I had that. Drew me a lot of cards, forced me to be able to break boards I usually wouldn't be able to, or force my opponent to play in a weird way just because they didn't want to give me additional cards. Dope. Angelic Pressure, love this card. It was so good. It's arguably better in purple because it allows you to get rid of Fulla really easily. Then you can like board wipe your opponent. But as you guys can see on my sideboard, I run the Cursed Dragon combo in my side, as well as main board. It actually comes up in situations where you can actually Angelic Pressure, let's say, an opposing Nova and get rid of them, because usually they'll sit at 12k. You can get something down to a range where you can now kill a whole board as opposed to just a bit of a board. So in general, pressure comes up enough times where I thought it was valuable instead of running, let's say, a Volcanic Break or whatever, because I didn't expect to run up to the mirror too often. A Volcanic Break is extremely good in the mirror because you can get rid of Dino Man or stuff like that. But in general, in terms of the matchups I was expecting, really happy with pressure, helped out a bunch, was able to get things down into Volcanic Burning Force range, which is great, which means I can still like at least 1-for-1 my opponent, but get rid of 2 bodies, which is often very significant. In terms of the last tech here, I would say the Arc was a tech. I love Arc in terms of a card. In a vacuum, it reads really well, and I do appreciate what it does, especially in like a yellow heavy matchup. But in terms of what it does for this format, especially if you're going up against the white or red aggro decks, it does almost nothing. So it was very much a dead card. If I had to substitute out a card for Arc, this is 52 cards, by the way, I would probably just take it out. But let's say I did want to sub in something, so I had something main board against aggro, Fish would probably be my go-to, just because it can definitely stall out what your opponent is trying to do. I knew Fish was a real card. I knew it. But instead we went Arc. That would be my biggest substitution. Sideboard situation, absolutely terrible. Did not enjoy my sideboard one bit. I love the Cursed Dragon combo. Going into white, bringing the Cursed Dragon combo is sweet because they just sideboard out Fulla. And like, okay, now I'm going to board wipe you. Even if they have Fulla. First, we have Angelic Pressure, so it doesn't really matter. But 2, just being able to deal with everything outside of like the one enterprise they're protecting, absolutely fine. Because then you just smash face with Rex, you just smash face with Nova, and you're absolutely chilling. So in general, love the Cursed Dragon combo in the side to a point where I was even like, maybe we just run this in the main at some point. Nomen Guard came in against purple and red. In the mirror, absolutely amazing. This card gets you so far and away ahead. Like I've learned that the way to beat the mirror is to really just out advantage, because you guys are going to be slamming Novas back and forth. You're going to be slamming Andromedas back and forth. And really, you're just kind of trying to see who can outgrind the other. And in that sense, Nomen Guard is amazing. It's going to have to die at some point. In the mirror or against purple, you can't afford to just let your opponent refresh every single phase. It's too busted. It's too good, especially once you can start slapping cores on everything. You become too aggro and too defensive. So they have to deal with it eventually. To Curse Dragon combo you, it has to die. To Nova, it has to die because they're going to have to swing into it in some fashion. So it is so incredibly good. And then you ramp 3, draw 3. Absolutely love Nomen Guard in the mirror. So incredibly good. If I wanted to up my mirror against red, I would just like add Enterprise, I guess, which is kind of where Ryute and Countersword come in. Countersword, I feel like for one, it's just a tempo play, right? It's not real removal. And against Nova decks, sometimes it actually doesn't stop them because they can gain the life and then they lose the Nova. But if they have another dragon, and like it's just weird. Generally, there is a note though that like the dragon will then become a 5 cost as opposed to a 1 or 2 cost because they gained up the life again. But if they're smart with the way that they play their cores and they're playing around Countersword, that's actually not impossible to do anyways. You play out all your 6 drops first, then you Nova, and guess what? If it gets bounced your hand, you can just Nova over another one again. So it's a good stall card. I think in like if you're playing an aggro deck, it's extremely good because you just need to stall out them Novoing like 1 turn. So in general, I think that's fine. Ryute, I knew it wasn't going to be great going into that matchup. It's arguably maybe even better in the white matchup because at least they can't bounce yourself with Dream Bomb. But like, very disappointing card. I did not love it. Even when I saw it in my hand, I'm like, wow, this is just not a great time to bring this in. So in general, I think for the most part, the sideboard plan, I would actually probably just get rid of Countersword and just bring Enterprise and just try to beat them with the Nomen Guard Enterprise combo. That did plenty. Like Nomen Guard by himself did plenty for me. In terms of Ryute, I would probably just bring like, I don't know, 2 more Flamefish, maybe 2 Firewall, something to help out against the aggro matchup is probably where I would go there. But in general, super happy about the deck. Let's jump over to the matchups to kind of talk about what we ended up seeing ourselves. Of which the first matchup actually being against purple. This was a newer player. They had just learned to play the game that day. So we did score the dub there. The new players are going to play. It's a launch event, and that's fine. We had a great time. I showed them the ropes, showed them how to sequence a couple of things. We ended up getting the 2-0 there. Sure. But in general, super nice opponent. Was super glad to talk it out. So purple was the first one, I believe. And some of these might be iffy. The ordering might be wrong, and I might be off on like 1 deck. So I do apologize for that. I didn't actually note anything down. Unfortunately, I was just too busy kind of enjoying my day. So we did go against purple again, I believe, in round 2, in which we also took it, pushing us to a 2-0. Again, you just draw so many cards that they kind of can't really keep up. And then once you get Nova, they have to like Curse Dragon combo you. They had Pendacles a few times, which was super annoying. But we did end up just clearing it out and being able to get there. So I wasn't really too worried about that matchup either. In general, once you start drawing 4 cards, because to do anything to you, you need to draw 4 cards, then it's not too bad. I would say the biggest thing of concern here is Beldegor. Beldegor is incredibly good. So you have to sequence your removal in a way that prevents them from being able to get extra value either offensively or defensively from Beldegor. Deadly Balance is an incredible card, so they use that to great effect as well in this matchup. So just things to keep in mind, right? Like, as long as you sequence properly, the advantage should be fine and still in your favor. Moving on from there, we got our first Elephant Control matchup, and this matchup is horrendous. Absolute pain in the butt. I believe this is the one where we ended up drawing. So game one, and like I was saying, if you're playing white, good chance you just need to win game 1, because if not, you're kind of just indebted to either living your life out as a draw or really not, or just losing, because like finishing game 2 is a rough call, and there's no way you're gonna have enough time on the clock for game 3. So ended up winning game 1. They were able to take game 2, but just barely. If I wanted to be a slime ball about it, I really could have forced the win because they weren't attacking quick enough on time. And I was able to block out and stall out. Told them they could have it. It's fine. I didn't have the ice shield anyways. They would have gotten there. But in general, playing these competitive events, you do have to keep pace and time in mind because honestly, were I not trying to like spread a good image of the game and just focus purely on competitive, which I have good reason to, there was $25,000 on the line. I think there was good reason to just be like, oh, sorry, right? And I think a lot of players are going to be doing that. Not only did they in this event, but in future events as well. So at the moment, we are currently 2-1 or 2-0-1. Next up, we have against red aggro. And like I was saying, guys, for weeks now, I was telling y'all, while we're not seeing it in any of the tournament metas, red or just aggro will be a thing. And there was a thing, white and red aggro were both represented this tournament, of which red was like 8 slots in top 16, and white actually just like, I think 3 white decks barely missed out, being X2, which the fact that the cutoff was X2 is nuts. But anyways, red aggro ended up 2-0ing me. Didn't really have tools, right? Like I think I played well, given the fact that red Nova like can kind of get there. I didn't see the combo once in both matchups, and I was still able to force the game out into like a turn 6, turn 7 situation. So in general, I know how to play the matchup. It's just the deck is super not favored against it, especially given that you actually just need to see combo. And then once you see the combo, you actually still need to be able to push out spirits and out tempo your opponent, because even if you clear their board every single turn, they actually still just get to swing into you, which eventually will just wear you down. And we even get to that point. He just kind of beat me out. I was able to defend, but the fact that I was only ever defending and not establishing something that would allow me to win the game, it really hurt there. So at this point, we are X1-1. Then we play another elephant control matchup, of which we end up taking it. I believe at this point, my opponent actually made a misplay, which when you swing a Derm Dyna, the soul core has to be on him. He swung, tried to pay it off of something else. We got a judge call. Ended up that's not being true, which is what actually allowed me to break his board in game 1. It was looking super bad. I actually think this is when the repair happened. It was either this or round 6, one or the other. We had a repair happen. Ended up having to go into it, which I'm kind of glad, it worked out in my favor, because when we had played out 5 minutes worth and it wasn't looking good at first, but ended up being able to clear. At one point he had a double Derm Dyna, triple Enterprise board, which is nuts. But again, was getting into me with Derm Dyna. I had the ice shields to save it off, and then the one time that he didn't sequence his course properly or whatever, was able to block the Derm Dyna, which then allowed me to double Gigano Rex, Gigano Rex plus the Andromeda confront, and just start clearing out his board. Clear. Being able to get rid of the other Derm Dyna, and then I was able to outrace him from there. And then at that point, we just weren't able to finish out game 2, because of course you're playing the white matchup. Very little time to be able to wrap up game 2, let alone game 3. Cutting in here just to give a quick update. This matchup actually wasn't white. While I'm editing here now, I do recall that I actually ended up playing the Nova Mirror here. They were more on a pure Nova build. Don't think they were running Gigano Rex. And in general, I was able to use my early Tyrannosaur board to kind of keep them off board the entire game, and then close out with the Nova combo. So in general here, not much to say. It was a quick 2-0. Huge shout out to my opponent. Did their thing fine. I think I just outdrew, and I think Terra Nova is the better deck if you're going to play the Nova combo, and just ended up showing itself here in its performance for this round. And then finally, Nova was our last matchup. Huge shout out to my opponent. It was a lot of fun. At this point, after this match, we actually had another potential round, but the top table tied, and the tournament went until 1 undefeated, which means the tournament was done there. In terms of the Nova Mirror, I took game 1, I believe. And then he took game 2. I played the Ryute. I forgot it was only on main phase and not during the attack phase either, which meant when he absolute ice shield, I thought he wouldn't get the core. No, he does get the core, and then he just cracked back. It was stupid. It was a dumb line of play. I don't know. I kind of like tunnel visioned way too hard on the notion of Ryute, and then I opened myself up to literally just dying to 3 spirits. So like, I don't know, dude. It was super bad. It was not clean at all. So my bad on that front. Then in game 3, Nomengard it just did a ton of work, drew me a lot of cards. I saw Nomengard into Nomengard, which means back-to-back turns. I drew 6 cards and ramped by 6. And then from there, I just outgassed him. He Nova'd me, unfortunately, did forget to set his Nova to 12k, which means that when I Nova'd him right back, it did end up clearing out his Nova. And then from there, we were just able to chip away at it until the game was over. So did end up closing out day 1 with an X1-1 record, which is 5-1-1, I believe. So super happy about that performance. Did end up closing us out into a day 2, of which day 2, we ended up playing red aggro. So honestly, matchup is super unfavored. Did go into it with a game 1 win because my opponent miswrote in their deck list. They forgot a whole spirit, a 4 of Del Rosa or something like that. I forget what the card name is, which effectively started us off as winning game 1. And then going into game 2, it was still randomized who goes first, as well as no sideboard. Game 1, we were able to see the Nova combo. We had game. We just need to draw 1 more spirit to be able to swing into him enough times to close out before he could still be able to swing back. We drew dead. I Nova comboed, had like no cards in hand. and then drew into Depths, which at that point was just kind of useless because he was able to get rid of it afterwards. Drew into Big Bang, which does nothing, and then drew into another Nova. So even though you're able to clear their board every turn and you did heal quite a bit, if you don't have enough tempo to be able to close out game, they are able to outrace you. Unfortunately, what happened to me, it is what it is. And then in game 2, we aggroed him. We were able to force him into a low life total very early, so he had to play defensively, which again means that pushed it into the later turns. But then weren't able to draw the removal to play defensively when we had an even board. He did, which means he was able to 2-for-1 my board, clear my board, and then I just couldn't do anything from it. So unfortunately, didn't draw into the better half of my deck in the later turns, which weren't able to get there. Nothing against my opponent. He obviously played well. Just on my end, I think I played well as well. To my credit, I think I played the matchup perfectly. The deck just didn't want to give me the cards I needed, and that'll just happen. Which does end my tournament run at top 32, which I can't complain, made day 2. And I think was really able to at least showcase that I'm not a total scam, which honestly was the big thing there. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed. All my opponents were great, whether they were new players or veterans from other games. So I guess to that point, we just have to talk about the wrap up, which is, I don't know. The tournament was ran incredibly poorly, in my opinion. And for what it's worth, I just want to make it absolutely clear. I'm not blaming the judges on this. I think a lot of judges were green to the way Bandai does, or like Bandai games in general, or judging in general. It's a brand new games. Rulings are going to get tossed here and there, and it's not absolutely clear because obviously the game hasn't even released yet. So my heart goes out to the judges for making the best of the situation they were given. From a TO perspective, though, a lot was absolutely unacceptable. Just day 1 alone, I'm not even talking about the repair. There was like a repair in like round 5 or round 6. Those happen. No one wants them to happen. They just do because someone forgot to submit. Someone realized after they got their matchup at the table that they're at the wrong table. Those things just happen. And I would rather a repair than like the bracket being messed up or someone getting a free buy when they weren't supposed to get a free buy or stuff like that. So that's not even what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the fact that like we were supposed to start at, what was it, like 10? We actually ended up starting at like noon almost. Many rounds ended up going long after their time period was meant. You can't hear anything because the speaker quality was really bad, and when they fixed the speaker quality, they were just way too far. BCP like crashed, but that's like a BCP issue, but at the end of the day, they're the ones using BCP. So in general, I'm not glad about the TO experience. The fact that the judges were on staff to do like additional stuff outside just judging, because you need X amount of judges per player, but that's assuming they're actually judging the event. And I think, unfortunately, in terms of this event, a lot of them were used as double fisted to do a bunch of other things. The head judge shouldn't be the TO, right? Like, I think that's a responsibility. Like, the TO is its own position. It should not fall on the head judge or whatever it was. So in general, I feel like the tournament structure and the organization of the event was set up in a way that would not allow the staff who were working it all day to succeed. And then at one point, it just kind of derailed from there. Tournament took forever. Were there going to be all 9 rounds? We actually would have been there till 1 a.m, which is unacceptable. Going into day 2, they told us to submit our decks at 8:30 for the deck checks so that we can start at 9 and be on pace for a good time. Now, mind you, top 32 is 5 rounds. I got there at 8:30 or 8:45 because I got there late because I had an Uber issue. But I submitted my deck. It was fine. It seemed like all the deck checks were done at like 9:30. The rounds still didn't start till like 11. And then the finals ended up actually happening at 7:30, amidst like hour-long breaks between pairings. So the tournament organization was absolutely abysmal. Rulings were made up on the fly. Again, heart goes out to the judges. They're trying to run with it with a new game that, like, look, I can't even blame the judges when cards like Elk don't do what they say they do, or Confront doesn't do what it says in the rules, which, again, there was like a Confront ruling where like apparently Confront skips the first flash step. What? How does that make any sense with the way that's written in the rules? So I have a lot of frustrations with the logistics of the tournament. Again, don't want to blame the judges. If anything, I kind of blame the inexperience of the TOs, or at this point, I don't even know. But this is probably the worst run tournament I've ever been a part of. Which maybe I just need to go to more tournaments. I don't know. Maybe it's the norm elsewhere. But I've played Magic GPs. I've played every single Bandai event competitively. So I don't know. Maybe I'm the one who's wrong. But either way, taking away from that, I had a great time. The game is a lot of fun. Do I think structurally there's a couple of issues? Yeah. I think Starblast Draw is a stupid card. I've talked to Cosmic a lot about this, and he's like, Starblast Draw works really well if it coexists with the other piece of the puzzle, which is like ways to kind of like better interact with that kind of with like bursts or drawing or whatever. I can't even remember what the other half is, but like my point to Cosmic was like, yeah, but until that other half of the card pool exists, it doesn't matter because it just kind of invalidates like half the colors that we're playing with right now, which of course, had we more colors, then it balanced out. But either way, so Starblast is a big issue. The fact that a lot of games end up coming down to who sees the most ice shields for still kind of sucks. I think that's stupid. The inconsistency in the rulings are dumb. But anyways, in general, playing was great. Playing the game is fun. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think there's a lot of room for the game to be really, really great. So I'm excited to see what set 2 comes out with. I love that there's Gundams. The players were great. I love that it was a melding pot of a lot of different games. How much of that is going to cross over because they decide to stick around? I don't know. If you guys play other card games and you're thinking about sticking around Battle Spirits, I would love that. I'm going to keep on playing. I think it's going to become my main travel game just because of the other ones I play are mostly like webcam tournament type of stuff. But no, I had a great time. I'm looking forward to the release. I'm looking forward to organized play announcements. I would love, right? And I guess that's like going to be my last point. I'm a little confused as to what the point of this launch event was, right? So you would think that a launch event is there to generate momentum to get people hyped and excited to be able to pick up the game. So we had the launch event and now we have the release of the game a month later. And that's it. All we know is that like we're getting set 2 somewhere down the line, but who cares? Set 1 hasn't even come out. They haven't announced organized play events. There's rumors of them. Spoilers, it's going to be like May or whatever. I don't know. But again, nothing confirmed. So now we just have a bunch of players who now have cards who don't have the need to go to their local game store and buy cards from them now. And now it's just like, okay, well, now we have the cards. What do you do with them? So it's a weird to make a momentum play like a launch event and then do nothing with it. Which means you've built up a lot of momentum, a lot of hype, a lot of marketing dollars, getting people from all these different card games, cosplayers, Mike Elliott, like you generate a lot of excitement for this game. And now you're just kind of sitting on it, right? Never mind the fact that the tournament itself had like no coverage. Yeah, people were recording it, but the Twitter wasn't talking about like, hey, these are the matchups that we're seeing today. Hey, these are your top 32 players. It really felt like there was like a lot of generated hype towards getting people to the event. And once the event was there, kind of whatever. And now that the event is gone, kind of whatever. Now, mind you, it's only been a couple of days. Who knows what's going to come out afterwards? But I'm slightly disappointed. I don't understand. I feel like there was a lot of incentive from whoever got to run this to be able to just really push through up until this event. And now that this kind of ran, it's just kind of like, okay. And I don't know. It feels like a miss. Maybe I'm the only one who feels this way. I just expect better, want better. I don't know. And I just want to make sure I would rather voice that there are a lot of like shortcomings so that it gets done better. I'm not trying to harp on specific people, but I'm just kind of confused. And if I'm not confused, I'm actively disappointed by the way things were. So either way, had a great time. Absolutely love it. Again, I love the game. For me, this wasn't just a one shot. I hope to keep on covering the game. I hope to keep on running tournaments and keep it exciting. I enjoy the way things play. And I have so many ideas about the things I want to play and do in terms of decks and stuff moving into even just continuing the set 1 meta. Super excited to see where we take this. So that's it, guys. That was my report. I had a ton of fun. Super looking forward to the future of it all. Of course, you guys want to catch more content, subscribe buttons in the bottom right there. And with that said, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Ciao.